The Boston Bruins are raising their season ticket prices. We'll tell you about the increase, and has team owner Jeremy Jacobs realized that some fans might not be willing to pay in light of the lockout. All that plus we'll answer your questions about the Bruins' biggest question marks with the trade deadline fast approaching. Welcome to Bruins Daily TV. Here at Studio 73 at Suffolk University, Erika Lee alongside Tim Rosenthal, who we missed last week, and a belated happy birthday.
Thank you. As Mr. Burns would say, and I think this would probably fit this segment, excellent.
Well, let's get to the major news we've got today. We did reach out to the team this morning to confirm the Boston Bruins are, in fact, raising their season ticket prices for the 2014-2015 season, rather. We saw some tweets on Tuesday afternoon from some of those season ticket holders, and the information actually came out today.
Yeah, I think season ticket holders have a right to be a little upset over these prices. You look at supply and demand, the Bruins are doing quite well, so there's a demand for the product. There's a demand to see them play. There's a demand to see some high-quality hockey because they're very good, and with that, what has to come an increase in prices. So that's the fact that they're increasing prices a little bit is not surprising. To the extent where they're increasing prices, however, I think it's a little too much. For some sections, it's 25 to 33% in increased prices, and I think down below in the lows it's as much as 40%. So it's a little absurd to think about it, especially coming off the lockout. Maybe it's to make up for lost prices, I don't know, but the economy's still not strong, and families and people are going to have to decide whether they can afford them or not now.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, with great quality, the Bruins have been putting out an excellent product. Supply and demand warrants a price increase, but it's a pretty hefty price tag. Those loge seats are going to be $88 to $145 per game now. The balcony seats are going for $45 to $98 per game. Bruins season ticket holders can expect to receive an email sometime on Wednesday with renewal information for the upcoming season as well.
And I don't think they're going to be too happy. And some of them already got that email, I have a feeling. So I
believe so.
Yeah, I really don't think some will be happy. I think some will go on and renew their subscriptions because obviously they're loyal fans and such. But some of them are going to have decisions to make.
Some of those tweets we've got from yesterday, Justin Aucoin, Justin over at Days of Yore, said his tickets will increase in price more than $1,200, while Scott Masterson said that his wallet will be hit with an extra $1,000 plus an additional $3,400 for those 16 potential playoff games.
Yeah, Justin according to Days of Yore, I'm sure they're going to have something on their side within 48 hours or so. At least I expect that. I don't know whether they will or not, but I'm certainly looking forward to reading that because they have a very entertaining product, and I think you guys need to check them out if you haven't yet. And if you haven't, why haven't you? But to Justin's point, I mean, you look at 2008, 2009, where he was paying less than if he was still a season ticket holder, assumably where his seats were. It was $28 per game at that point. To go from that to 2014, 2015, where it's going to be $50, that's over a 120% increase right there, if my math serves correctly. And at this rate, another 5 years and of a 120% increase, that's going to be near that $100 per seat. And for balcony seats, even though there's a good view wherever you go at the Garden, those are not worth it at all. Absolutely. And obviously Scott's, I believe, is in the same area where Justin is. So they both have a right to complain over that. If you look at Justin's Twitter account last year, going back to the lockout, remember when they had that free concessions for the first week or so? He tweeted a picture about what he received, a quarter-inch pizza. That's about it. So you definitely have to check that out at Justin DOY.
Absolutely. And of course, as you mentioned, the best we can infer from this price increase is that they're trying to make up for a little bit of revenue lost during the lockout last season.
There are other ways to do this, I think. Increase in jersey sales. People are going to buy jerseys no matter what. Some are, some aren't. It's a novelty effect. Get a jersey from your favorite player or get one without your a name on it as well. That's the beauty of having a jersey and other concessions as well. I still think, regardless of how much you charge for beer, yeah, people will still complain about the prices, but they're going to drink, many of them, at least if they're legal, are going to drink no matter what. And other concessions, I'm sure, went way heavily on this. Yes, obviously they need an increase in season tickets, but in prices because the demand is so high, but not to the extent. And going forward, you wonder if this is going to weigh in again on the owners heading into another collective bargaining agreement whenever they negotiate that next in another 8 to 10 years.
Let's hope that's not the case. When we come back, we're going to answer some of your questions about what the Bruins might be facing with the trade deadline approaching very quickly. That's next on Bruins Daily TV. Welcome back to Bruins Daily TV. Erika Lee here with Tim Rosenthal and the crew at Studio 73. And it's time for us to take some of your questions and see if we can give you some answers with the NHL's trade deadline fast approaching. Now on Twitter and Facebook, we asked you, now that the Olympics are over and the Bruins are in the home stretch, what are your biggest questions for this team? Tim, our first question comes from Keith on Facebook, and he asks, if the Bruins don't make a move at the trade deadline, can a young defense hold up in the playoffs?
Well, I think you saw that in the Rangers series last year when Torrey Krug was called up, and obviously the injuries to Seidenberg, to Wade Wrighton, left some voids in there. I think they did fairly well. Granted, the Rangers were kind of in disarray by the second round, but they took advantage of that opportunity. Dougie Hamilton played quite well in that series. He missed the last game. That's when Seidenberg came back from injury. Matt Barkowski played extremely well, I thought, with Johnny Boychuk filling in for Andrew Ferentz. And Torrey Krug stayed on the roster because of his strong play against the Rangers, and he had a very solid end to his playoffs. So I can certainly, well, I'm not 100% sure that they can hold up, but they have done it in the past, and I wouldn't be surprised if they, for some reason, if they couldn't acquire that veteran defenseman at the trade deadline, that they can certainly hold up. That's my thought on that.
And we've seen a lot of great things from some of the guys down in Providence already this season so far.
Kevin Miller's filled in admirably. Adam McQuaid's coming back from injury, so maybe that's all they need. I still like to see him get a defenseman, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world, I think, if they don't.
All right, so we'll see what happens. Diane on Facebook says that the Bees offense was showing some major improvement heading into the Olympic break, something we discussed in our last show. She wants to know, what are they doing to keep up this trend during the break?
Playing solid, consistent hockey and resorting to what they do best. Physical play offensively, defensively as well, but that transition game from defense to offense, I think, has been very solid, especially with Torrey Krug back there. I think he's really moving the puck up ice quickly. I think the forwards are now getting up ice a little quicker, which is surprisingly enough when they lost Tyler Seguin and Rich Peverly in that trade. They lost a lot of speed, but they're also cycling the puck well in their own end. That, I think, stands out more than anything with the 12 forwards.
All right. We had so many great questions on Facebook. Our last one comes from Jay, who wants to know if Tuukka can build off his success with Team Finland in the Olympics and lead the Bruins to another cup run.
Well, he sort of proved doubters wrong during the last Stanley Cup playoff, and I think he proved some doubters again because he was struggling prior to the Olympic break a little bit, and he put in a strong performance for Finland in the tournament, led him to a bronze medal. And I think if there's any doubters now, I'll have to answer him again in the playoffs, because this is a full 82-game season. He hasn't been used to that before, but he's doing well for what it's worth. He's had his struggles here and there, and I think he's getting ready for the playoffs. And I think he's going to be he needs to be rested a little bit into March and April just to let his body heal and get ready for playoffs. And Chad Johnson's filled in admirably as well when needed. So
I was just going to mention that.
I win again.
Well, our very last question comes from Twitter. William McCarron wants to know if the Bruins could potentially plug in a rental blue liner. He's hoping that the team doesn't part with Ryan Spooner.
Unless it's for a top-tier defenseman, it's not going to happen. Even for Dan Girardi, who, if he doesn't get signed before the deadline, he'll likely be traded from the Rangers. The asking price still might be a little high for him, oddly enough. And then you look at Andrew McDonald. The Islanders was reported that they want a first-round pick for him. That's not, and I don't think Chiarelli's willing to part a first-round pick for a defenseman of his caliber. He's got to look deep into that. Maybe he takes a lengthy contract like a Shea Weber from Nashville, and obviously the Predators are struggling a little bit in the Western Conference. I don't think Weber is going to be traded, but at the same time, if Martin St. Louis wants out of Tampa Bay, I think anyone can be traded on any given day.
All right, well, with the NHL's trade deadline approaching, be sure to follow us at Bruins Daily on Twitter. We're on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Bruins Daily. You can follow Tim and myself on Twitter. You've seen those handles throughout the show. And that is going to do it for us this week on Bruins Daily TV. From Studio 73, I'm Erika Lee, that's Tim Rosenthal, and we'll see you next time.
Excellent.
We belong together. We stand proud and true. Remember when I said that I'd always be